Hey, good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Real Talk with Miss Harrell. If this is your first session with us, first off, welcome. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Kate Harrell, and I've been working with the 12 to 18-year-old age bracket, I guess, for the last 15 or so years. This is my seventh year serving as Midland school counselor. And the idea of hosting these parent nights to discuss the unique challenges and issues that adolescents face, it's been on my mind for quite some time. But the circumstances that have been brought on by the pandemic made me realize I could not wait any longer. There were things that we needed to talk about. I feel like as adults, we are very aware that we and our friends have struggled during these last 2 years. I don't think we're quite as aware of the fact that our young people are also struggling and that they are struggling in very similar ways that we are, but they process differently and they respond differently than us. In the past sessions that we've had, I've discussed social media and the development of the teenage brain. I also did a quick overview of the 10 things that I felt like parents needed to know right now about what's going on with their youth. Tonight's topic is one that adults have talked about for a really long time, especially in relationship to teens. And it's one that I've also noticed seems to be getting worse, teenage anger. So ask any adult, parent or not, about some of those typical hallmarks of those teen years. And I guarantee you're going to hear comments about teen angst. You're going to hear comments about moodiness. And we definitely know somebody is going to say something about, oh, the hormones, right? What we know is that moodiness is scientifically explainable in teens and young adults. I have a short little video I want to share with you guys tonight that explains a little bit in terms specifically that our kids would understand, but it's helpful for us too.
You and I are gonna get to be good friends. Who am I? Well, most people call me Teen Angst, but you can come up with whatever pet name you want for me. Personally, I've always loved the name Bob. Where the heck did I come from? Let's just say it all has to do with a little thing called the pituitary gland. It's that pea-sized thing at the base of your brain that starts to flood your body with hormones when you begin puberty. I promise I'm not bad company. I just stir up a little trouble sometimes. It all has to do with your body making some adjustments and you growing up. These intense feelings of inner conflict are totally normal and are referred to as teen angst. Remember that time your mom made your favorite breakfast and for no reason at all, you freaked out and yelled at her? Yeah, that was me. Oh, or what about the time when your best friend Molly said she was going to the movies with Karen instead of you, and you spent the whole night crying like it was the end of the world? Sorry, me again. I couldn't help it. Oh, and that morning you missed the bus to school because you spent hours trying to figure out what you thought was a fashionable enough outfit? Ugh, that was the worst, right? Mm-hmm. You see, part of my job is to create all sorts of big reactions and overwhelming feelings that might seem a little hard to deal with. Oh, what an annoying friend, right? But I have a job to do, and I won't be around forever. I'm just here to help you through this funny time of life when you're not a kid anymore. But you're not an adult either. But all those highs and lows you're having are really normal and a typical part of everyone's teenage years. Even celebrity rock stars and athletes had their own teen angst sidekicks like me. I promise, a few years from now, you'll look back on all our adventures together and laugh. But remember, if I start to get a little too out of control and my friend depression butts in, it's important to talk to a trusted adult. Depression can make you feel pretty sad and isolated. It comes around and visits lots of people, so it's nothing to be ashamed of. And depression is totally manageable with help and medical attention. So, are you ready to go convince your little brother that it's your turn to decide what we watch on TV tonight? And if I'm a little short-tempered, don't worry, it'll pass.
So there you go. Just a few little pointers there to help us remember that not only are these things explainable, but they are entirely normal. That video is able to be located on YouTube if that's something that you're interested or you feel like would be beneficial for your student. It is titled Teen Angst, Is It Normal? Just a two-minute video to encourage them to talk to us, to the adults in their life specifically. I love that it highlights normal, but if emotions start feeling even higher or more extreme as we start closing in on depressive feelings, that we want to be able to talk those things out with the adults in our world and get some assistance. So even though understanding that those major shifts in mood and emotions are typical and that it's not always completely within their control, it does seem that this school year has brought on even greater instances of emotional and sometimes aggressive outbursts from young people, specifically within the school environment. A quick Google search, if you look it up, I'm going to pull it up and actually show you guys again. But a quick Google search about student behavior during this return to school time period will give you some very interesting search results. I'm going to show y'all headlines from kind of across the nation. All right. Talking about how the pandemic has triggered an increase in aggressive behavior, school fights, violence, acting out. You see right there, back to schools brought guns, fighting and acting out. That's a Washington Post article. The harm that's been done to our students' mental health and the fact that we here at the school feel it regularly. Rise in school violence is linked to stress caused by the coronavirus. These are just a few of the articles, y'all. Some of the other ones that I have seen and read that you can also find, and I'll send these out at least to parents via our school email list. Some of those article titles: schools are struggling with behavior issues as students return. That's one. Violence in schools is on the rise following pandemic learning. The third one, experts discuss how pandemic has triggered increase in aggressive behavior in school fights. Another one, schools confront wave of student misbehavior driven by months of remote learning. Pandemic disruption to schools is causing anxiety and behavioral issues for students. And then educators report a rise in school threats, fights, misbehavior, and blame COVID. Midland is no different, y'all, than what we're seeing across the nation. We're seeing similar trends. We have had regular conversations within our faculty and staff, both in pairs and small groups and in faculty meetings, about how our students seem to be angrier. In fact, that's a question that I'm hearing us asking each other here as a staff regularly. Why are they so angry? We're seeing them lashing out more toward adults and classmates, both more quickly and more aggressively than pre-pandemic. This has looked like anything from yelling, literally yelling, and screaming out at peers and teachers, sometimes disrupting classes mid-lesson, to sending threatening messages or creating threatening posts on social media accounts, to, of course, hands-on fights. Potentially even more distressingly, these actions are encouraged on social media, where teens regularly post pictures, videos, and invitations to participate in those violent, aggressive, destructive behaviors. They're on social media. If you know me, you know that this was going to be a part of this conversation. If you've attended any of our other sessions, you also knew that it's worked its way in as well. But my concern here relative to these angry, aggressive outbursts is that these choices are encouraged by their peers online. And some of these trends have been launched via these social media platforms. Some of y'all, I'm sure, have heard about these TikTok challenges. I'm gonna show y'all where we were warned about some of the upcoming trends. So TikTok challenges for the school year, you can see right here, September was that Devious Licks challenge, which actually started, it had to do when it started with theft and taking some sort of school property. We'll get into that in a second, but it turned into specifically bathrooms and kind of ended with vandalizing school bathrooms. The October challenge that was also very distressing when we heard about it was to put your hands on a staff member. And you can see some of these other ones that are out there potentially being, well, not potentially, being encouraged. Students are being encouraged to participate in these things, all via social media platforms. Just things to know that exist in that space that the kids are living in and spending so much of their time participating in. It's concerning. And I want to show y'all some of what I'm talking about as far as student participation. Now, some of this stuff, this is not specific, this isn't footage from Midland, but this is just to show you these things are happening and that kids are participating in it, and we need to be aware. So this is the Devious Licks, which has to do with that, the theft initially. These are some of the things that were posted.
First week of school, and already caught this absolutely despicable list.
Life mixtape, this that pretty boy music. If you're on the streets, man, you in the gutter, man, you got bitches, slap this, you feel me? Fucking your hoe, giddy up.
Slavery.
Hey man, you already know who it is. Your boy Lil B. Hey man, this that Hoop Life mixtape. This that pretty boy music. If you're on the streets, man, you in the gutter, man, you got bitches, slap this, you feel me?
And here again, they're posting these things on social media where people can see. That's the actual paper towel dispenser. Computer monitor. Fire alarms. And like I said, these are not specific to Midland, but these are actual students taking things from the school when this challenge was being encouraged, and then posting openly on their social media accounts, trying to outdo each other with bigger and bigger items that they were able to take from the school without people noticing. That would be a projector from the school. That would be a computer. So there you see, and y'all, that's just a few of them. That video that I was sharing there with you actually goes on for more than 8 minutes, and there are multiple compilations out there if you're interested in taking a look and seeing. It's concerning, both in terms of the fact that theft, right, but also specifically that the kids are posting it to their accounts where other people can see it, and that they're being encouraged by their peers once those posts are live. This, of course, this trend that started with the stealing of those items and the increase in value of those items ultimately landed in a place where that devious licks trend had a lot to do with destruction of the bathrooms. Now at Midland, I don't know how many parents actually would be watching this right now, but we had some different situations that had happened that had nothing to do with any of these trends, and had already, at the point when it turned into the destruction of the bathrooms, we had actually already put into place a more structured bathroom plan. And so we didn't see the same levels of destruction that some of the other schools in the district saw. But for people who are interested, who maybe didn't know, again, this is information that's easy to find. Quick Google search here, and this is just some of what was happening at schools while this trend was live there. What you see here is an actual, like a toilet that was taken off the floor entirely. These are the hookups. You've got everything from food at lunch actually in the toilets to the stalls being ripped off the wall. You got mirrors that were ripped off the wall and destroyed. This was a thing that we heard about as well, where food coloring was brought to school and was sprayed in, on, and around the toilets, which then stains the wall and the toilet itself. Just destruction. Here's an entire sink section, multiple sinks that were ripped off, and you can see here where it was posted onto social media accounts. So if you don't know, now you know. That was Devious Licks, which was where we started the school year. This progressed to that second challenge, which was supposedly in October, which was to actually put your hands on to hit a staff member at the school. We didn't see that at Midland, but it did happen there. Again, very easily searchable are multiple accounts of students who did put their hands on staff members, and connected to that, charges being pressed and students being jailed for these unprovoked episodes of physical aggression toward their teachers. I do have one video that I would like to share with you. If you have students near you, you may not want them to watch this with you, just because it is a little bit more on the violent side. It's not graphic or gory or anything like that, but just because of the content. This took place at a high school, not in our district, but worth showing you because timely content, but also I'll point out two specific things about this video for you. Okay.
Hold it up a little. Come on, come on, come on.
You got students at the door filming.
Bitch, you better fucking not.
Teachers see the drink.
I'm gonna start running.
So, concerning both because of the attack on the teacher, but also because of the fact that you had other students who were filming at the time in anticipation of the attack and then posting it to their social media accounts. Additionally, Another thing we want to make you aware of is the concept of shade rooms, which are popping up all over Instagram specifically. The creators of these accounts encourage the submission of content from other students, videos of fights or other aggressive situations, but also inappropriate photos and videos of students in compromising situations so that they can expose those students. But they will request fight videos and other inappropriate content be shared to that account, and then that account publicizes them. So now that you're aware, you got to be asking yourself what can be done, like how can we help? I want to start by filling you in on the techniques, approaches, and interventions that we're currently using at Midland. We are exploring restorative justice practices. We use social emotional learning and PBIS. If you're unfamiliar, restorative justice, the concept behind that is that the offending parties repair the harm that was caused by their choices and decisions. Here at Midland, what that has looked like can be as simple as the consequence for a decision is directly related to the negative choice. For example, a student throws food in the cafeteria at lunchtime. They not only have to clean up their mess, but they assist with cleanup in the cafeteria for the entire cafeteria. Students causing classroom disruptions have been asked to help create and teach a lesson in class on appropriate classroom behavior. Another restorative justice practice that we use at Midland, conflict resolution sessions. So we'll pull students together either in pairs or in small groups to discuss the conflict itself, the sides of the conflict, the feelings that came with it, and plan for how to avoid or address those type of issues in the future. We also have students complete reflection worksheets and future planning when they have found themselves in a situation. So we want them to look back at the choices that got them into the circumstance that they're in and kind of walk out the decision-making process that they maybe neglected or didn't walk completely out, or to consider the choices that they made at the time and how it didn't land them the ultimate outcome that they wanted, and then go back and look at the choices and what they could have done differently to get the outcome that they wanted. We also encourage them within that process and that worksheet. One of the questions is, who was harmed by the choice that was made? How were they harmed? And then we ask them to think about what they can do to make things right with that individual or those individuals. Students who do end up receiving a suspension, either in or out of school, go over that reflection packet and have a re-entry conference with the assistant principal, myself, the counselor, or the academic dean. Another thing that we're utilizing at Midland to address and try to curb some of these aggressive behaviors and situations is social emotional learning. Now, this is a process through which young people and adults acquire and apply knowledge and skills and attitudes in their life in order to develop healthy identities, manage their emotions, achieve personal goals, feel and show empathy for other people, establish and maintain supportive relationships, and make responsible decisions. So everything under social emotional learning is to teach how to do those things, right? To teach how to develop a healthy sense of self, to teach how to manage their emotions, to teach the process of setting and achieving goals, to teach what is empathy, what does that look like, and how do I express that for other people, to teach the students what a healthy relationship looks like, how to create and encourage and maintain them in their lives, and to teach them the process of decision making. Last year, we had daily SEL lessons that were created and taught through the classes all day long. This year, we're encouraging that to continue within classes for teachers to look at how to embed that into daily life here at Midland. And then we have school-wide SEL that is accomplished on Fridays through our house program. Now, if you're not a Midland parent, or perhaps if you are, you may be unfamiliar with our house system, but it's similar to the Harry Potter house system. All of our students and all of our faculty are sorted into one of 4 houses. Each house has a name. It's assigned a color, which is one of our school colors. They have a value that they embody and study, a motto and a quote that line up with that value, and a crest. And all of this is done to and intended to reinforce positive character development, community connectedness, competition, and school support and spirit. If you're unfamiliar, our houses are Animo, which is the house of courage, Fide, which is the house of loyalty, Honesta, which is the house of honesty, and Integritas, which is the house of integrity. PBIS is another program that we utilize. So the main concept behind PBIS is to focus on teaching behavior expectations and then reteaching those behaviors multiple times prior to disciplinary action being taken. So the idea here is that we really want students to learn how we are expecting them to behave, how we're expecting them to respond. And if we really want them to learn it, we need to teach it, and then we need to reteach it, and we need to reteach it instead of solely disciplining. So within our program here at Midland, parents, you may be familiar, and if you're not, we're going to explain it just a little bit for you. Students receive a step for a minor behavior infraction. In a step, that desired behavior is retaught to the student, and their parent is directly contacted to communicate what the behavior infraction was, and that the teacher spoke to the student, retaught that expectation, and we went back to class. Beyond those steps and the behaviors being retaught, we have incorporated that at the 3rd step. So that would be the 3rd time that a student has had a minor classroom infraction. In addition to that behavior being retaught and you, the parent, being contacted so you can reinforce it at home, I meet with the student to see if there are any supports that I can provide, or social or emotional needs that need to be addressed that might be the underlying cause of why that behavior expectation is a struggle for that student. At our 4th step at Midland, that behavior has been retaught 4 times. At the 3rd step, they met with me, and at the 4th step, we add a conference with our assistant principal so that he can also reinforce. Again, it's not disciplinary yet, it's a conference. It's not until at Midland at the fifth step, so the 5th minor infraction, that student then receives an in-school suspension consequence, because we're figuring after 4 attempts to directly teach and reteach that behavior at 4 conferences with parents, and you're reinforcing that at home, add in a conference with myself and with the assistant principal, now we will do a disciplinary infraction. Major behaviors, that bypasses the step process and they have to receive a consequence immediately. These are literally major situations. At this point, you're talking about drugs, alcohol, and weapons. You're talking about fights, threats, assault. You're talking about harassment or bullying, vandalism, or theft. Not that we neglect the reteaching part, just that there is a major consequence that follows with that. We additionally will be utilizing and do utilize that restorative justice in conjunction with those major consequences. This year, we have also employed a check-in, check-out system. Students who have received ISS or OSS 3 or more times are currently using this intervention. What this involves is students identifying who their adult support is in the building, the person who they feel the most confident and comfortable with. They check in with that teacher in the morning when they first arrive at school, and they check out with that teacher at the end of the day. And in the in-between time, they carry with them, you might have heard about the orange folders. They carry with them an orange folder where each teacher throughout that student's day. So 6 classes, 6 teachers are asked to rate that student's classroom behavior on our 3 building-wide expectations. That's to be safe, to be kind, and to be engaged. The students can get full credit for those expectations. They can get half credit, or they can get no credit for meeting that expectation. This allows students to track and monitor their own behavior class by class, week by week, and they really are enjoying having a visual representation where they see that chart and they see they got a 1 for being kind, and that was because the teacher heard them being ugly to another student, and so they got partial credit for that day. Additionally, pre-pandemic, at Midland, we had already started working on the creation of the Midland Way. It's a school-wide curriculum that our teachers used to directly teach daily expected behaviors at Midland. I'm talking walking through the day, minor things. This information was actively taught during the first 10 days of school in August, and it's reviewed after every major break. That's Thanksgiving. When we come back from Thanksgiving, we just did it. We did a refresher. When we come back from winter break, we'll do another refresher. And then when we return from spring break in April, we'll go over it again. Just want to show y'all real quick so that you have an idea, and so you can start asking your students about the Midland Way. They know what that is. The easiest way that we decided that it would be for teachers to navigate through it was actually to make it shareable via Google Slides. The teachers pulled up the content and they would go through this information with the students. So the first day, first period of the Midland Way, our teachers actually participated in a map your day activity. Every student was given their schedule. We asked them to write it out. And then we asked them, they got a copy of the map of the building. We asked them to draw out, here's my first period class, here's my second period class. I'm going to walk this way, up that hallway, and that's how I'm going to get there. They went over hallway procedures, when they should have a pass, what side of the hallway they should walk on, that they should stop at the stop signs as marked in the hallways. We had videos that showed them how to walk in a single file line and on what side of the hallway. Showed them how to get to our Canvas pages. We went over, skipping forward here, how to behave at lunch. Little details, sit in your seat, face forward. Health and safety in the building, what that looks like, wearing a mask. How to get water from the water fountain. There are cups that we have to use this year, well, last year too. How to visit the nurse, you have to have a nurse's pass. I mean, we mapped out exactly how to do the day, piece by piece. And then we reinforce that. And when a student is in violation of it, all we say is, that's not the Midland way. It's really kind of cut down on arguments with students where they're like, oh, but I'm allowed in this class, or but at home. No, it's okay if these things are done outside of the building potentially, but here at Midland, this is the Midland way. So all that to be said, those are the things that we are doing here in-house to try to teach and reteach how we are endeavoring to not severely punish students if it's not absolutely necessary, but rather teach them and help them make better choices and get a handle on their frustration and their anger. What can you do at home? I know that's got to be